If you've looked down at your waist lately and wondered why that deep, stubborn belly fat seems harder to lose now than it used to be, even though you're trying to eat better, move more, and be more careful than ever, you're not imagining it. After 60, the rules really do start to change. Your hormones shift, muscle naturally declines, your metabolism slows down, sleep often gets lighter, stress affects you differently, and all of that makes one particular kind of fat much more likely to build up right around the middle. I'm talking about visceral fat, the hidden fat that settles deep inside the abdomen and wraps around organs like the liver, pancreas, and intestines. Unlike the softer fat under the skin, this type tends to work quietly in the background. It can raise the risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, inflammation, and even problems with memory and energy. That's why so many people get frustrated. They assume the issue is cosmetic, but this isn't just about how your clothes fit. It's about what that expanding waistline may be saying about your metabolic health. Now here's the encouraging part. There are foods that can help. Not because they perform some overnight magic trick, and not because one bite suddenly melts pounds away, but because certain foods support the exact systems that influence whether your body stores fat or starts letting go of it. They help steady blood sugar, calm inflammation, improve fullness, protect muscle, and make it easier to stop the cycle of constant cravings and energy crashes. And today, I want to focus on one food in particular, a food that spent years being misunderstood, a food many people avoided because they saw the fat content and assumed it had to be fattening. But according to a growing body of nutrition research, this simple food may actually support several of the key biological processes involved in reducing dangerous belly fat, especially after 60. That food is avocado. Before you tune out because you've heard avocado praised before, stay with me. This isn't about trendy toast or expensive cafe meals. It's about why avocados seem to work so well with the aging body, why they may be especially helpful when visceral fat is the problem, and how to use them in a practical way that actually fits real life. And before we get into it, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment with your age and where you're watching from. I always enjoy seeing how many people are showing up from different cities, states, and countries, all trying to take better care of themselves one step at a time. And if you appreciate practical, science-based health content made for healthy aging, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this message reach more people who may be struggling with the exact same thing. All right, let's talk about why avocados deserve a much closer look. The first reason is fullness. One of the hardest parts of losing belly fat after 60 isn't simply choosing healthier foods. It's staying satisfied long enough that you don't end up circling back to snacks 2 hours later. That's where avocados stand out. They contain a combination of healthy monounsaturated fat and fiber, and that pairing matters. Fat slows digestion, fiber adds bulk and helps food move more steadily through the digestive tract. Together, they can help you feel fuller for longer after a meal. That may sound simple, but it changes a lot. When meals are more satisfying, people are less likely to graze all afternoon, less likely to overdo the evening portions, and less likely to reach for sugary foods when energy dips. And every time you reduce those blood sugar spikes and insulin surges, you're giving your body a better chance to stop storing extra fat around the middle. The second reason has to do with blood sugar control. Many people don't realize how tightly belly fat is connected to insulin. Every time your blood sugar rises sharply, your body releases insulin to help move that sugar out of the bloodstream. Insulin is essential, but when it's elevated too often, it encourages fat storage, especially around the abdomen. Over time, this can make visceral fat more stubborn and harder to lose. Avocados are naturally very low in sugar, and because they contain fiber and fat instead of refined starch, they don't trigger the same blood sugar roller coaster that comes from pastries, sweet cereals, crackers, or white bread. In fact, adding avocado to a meal may help make that meal more balanced overall. Instead of a quick rise and crash, you get a steadier release of energy. That usually means fewer cravings later and less of that urge to keep eating, even when you know you don't really need more food. The third reason involves inflammation. As the body gets older, low-grade inflammation tends to creep upward. You may not feel it directly, but it can affect everything from joints and blood vessels to insulin sensitivity and fat metabolism. Chronic inflammation is one of the reasons the body can start holding on to weight more tightly with age. Avocados contain plant compounds and antioxidants that may help support a healthier inflammatory response. They're not a cure-all, but they can be part of a pattern of eating that works with your body instead of against it. And that's really the key here. No single food works in isolation. Avocado isn't powerful because it's magical. It's helpful because it supports multiple systems at once. It helps with satiety. It helps with steadier blood sugar. It offers fiber. It provides heart-friendly fats. It brings along potassium and other nutrients many older adults don't get enough of. When one food checks that many boxes, it deserves attention. Now, there's another reason avocados are so interesting, and most people barely think about it. They may help improve the quality of what you replace. A lot of the benefit doesn't come only from eating avocado. It comes from what avocado often takes the place of. When someone swaps mayo-heavy spreads, chips, pastries, sugary breakfast foods, or processed snack bars for something built around avocado, the whole meal changes. Suddenly there's less refined flour, less added sugar, fewer blood sugar swings, and usually more satisfaction. That replacement effect can be incredibly important for belly fat over time. For example, think about breakfast. One person starts the day with sweet cereal and juice. Another has eggs with avocado and a side of berries. The calories might not be dramatically different, but the metabolic effect usually is. The second meal contains more protein, more fiber, more healthy fat, and less sugar. That often translates to steadier energy, fewer cravings, and a better chance of avoiding the mid-morning crash that leads to muffins, cookies, or whatever happens to be nearby. Here's something else worth knowing. Avocados may also support heart health, and that matters because visceral fat and cardiovascular risk tend to travel together. The same pattern that encourages fat storage around the organs often shows up alongside higher triglycerides, worse blood sugar control, elevated blood pressure, and changes in cholesterol. Avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, the same general type of heart-friendly fat found in olive oil. For many people, replacing more processed fats with these can be a smart move for overall metabolic health. And then there's potassium. A surprising number of adults don't get enough of it. Potassium helps support healthy blood pressure, fluid balance, nerve signaling, and proper muscle function. That last part matters more than people realize. Staying active is still one of the strongest ways to reduce belly fat. And anything that helps support hydration, muscle function, and recovery can make it easier to keep walking, keep lifting, keep gardening, keep climbing stairs, and keep doing the everyday movement that adds up over time. Quick question for you. Do you already eat avocados regularly, or is this one of those foods you've mostly ignored? Let me know in the comments. I always find it interesting how many people either love avocados or avoid them because they still think of them as too fatty. And if that's been your concern, let's talk about that next. For years, fat was treated like the enemy. People were told that if a food contained fat, it would make them fat. That idea sounded logical, but nutrition science has shown again and again that the type of fat matters. Avocados are not loaded with the industrial fats found in many ultra-processed foods. Most of the fat in avocado is monounsaturated, which has been consistently associated with better metabolic and heart health outcomes when it replaces poorer quality foods. Still, portion size matters. This is where some people go wrong. They hear that avocados are healthy and assume more must be better. But healthy doesn't mean unlimited. Avocados are nutrient-dense, which is a good thing, but that also means they carry substantial calories. For many people, a third to a half of an avocado at a time is enough to get the benefits without accidentally turning a balanced meal into something overly heavy. You don't need giant amounts, you need consistency. And consistency is what changes the body. Not one perfect salad, not one clean breakfast, not 1 week of trying hard. It's what you repeat. That's why avocados can be so useful. They're easy to work into everyday meals without making life complicated. You can slice them over eggs, mash them onto whole grain toast, add them to a bean salad, pair them with grilled fish, blend a little into a smoothie for creaminess, or use them in place of heavier spreads in a sandwich. The exact form matters far less than whether it helps you build meals that keep you satisfied and steady. Another often overlooked advantage is that avocados pair well with foods older adults should already be eating more of. Think about what happens when you combine avocado with vegetables, legumes, eggs, or fish. You end up with a meal that's richer in fiber, protein, micronutrients, and healthy fats all at once. That kind of combination is powerful for appetite regulation. It also tends to be much more filling than processed convenience foods that disappear fast and leave you hungry again before long. And there may be an added bonus. Some nutrients in vegetables are fat-soluble, which means your body absorbs them better when a healthy fat is present. So when avocado shows up alongside foods like tomatoes, leafy greens, peppers, or carrots, it may help your body make better use of some of those protective compounds. That's not the main reason to eat it, but it's a nice example of how real foods often work better together than people expect. Now, if you're someone who says, "I tried avocado and it didn't change anything," that's fair. One food by itself usually won't produce a dramatic transformation you can see by Friday. Belly fat, especially visceral fat, tends to build over years. The hormones, sleep patterns, muscle loss, insulin resistance, and lifestyle habits behind it take time to improve. So the better question isn't whether avocado creates instant results. The better question is whether it helps build a way of eating that your body responds well to over time. For a lot of people, the answer is yes. Because when a food helps you stay full, reduces the temptation to snack, supports steadier blood sugar, and makes healthier meals easier to enjoy, it starts influencing daily decisions in a very practical way. And those daily decisions are what gradually change waistlines, lab work, energy, and confidence. Let me also say this, because it's important. If you add avocado to an otherwise highly processed diet, nothing else changes, and physical activity stays low, you should not expect miracles. This isn't about crowning a single food king and ignoring everything else. It's about using one, especially helpful food as part of a larger strategy. A strategy built around enough protein, plenty of fiber, fewer liquid sugars, better sleep, regular movement, and muscle-preserving habits. But if you are looking for one food that tends to fit beautifully into that strategy, avocado is hard to ignore. It works well at breakfast. It works at lunch. It works in simple dinners. It works when chewing is harder because it's soft. It works when appetite is lower because a small portion can still be satisfying. It works when you're trying to replace processed spreads. It works when you want something quick that doesn't require complicated preparation. Those practical details matter more than people think, because the best food for belly fat isn't the one with the flashiest headline. It's the one you can actually keep eating in real life. Before we go further, take a second and think about this. What time of day are you most likely to overeat? Morning, afternoon, late evening? That's usually where the right food swap can make the biggest difference. For some people, adding avocado to lunch prevents the 4 o'clock snack attack. For others, including it at breakfast keeps them from chasing sugar all day. Small adjustments like that can do more than extreme plans ever will. There's also the question of the gut. More researchers are paying attention to the connection between gut health, weight regulation, inflammation, and insulin sensitivity. The fiber in avocados may help support a healthier digestive environment, and that matters because the gut does much more than digest food. It interacts with appetite signals, immune responses, and even how efficiently we handle energy. Again, avocado is not doing all the work alone, but it can contribute to a more supportive internal environment. And here's something I really want you to remember. The real goal is not just a flatter stomach. It's better metabolic health. It's walking farther without getting tired. It's having steadier energy through the afternoon. It's reducing the risk tied to visceral fat. It's feeling lighter, clearer, and more capable in your own body. When people focus only on the mirror, they miss some of the most meaningful wins. Better blood sugar, fewer cravings, less bloating, improved regularity, more stamina, better checkups, those are major victories too. If today's message is helping, go ahead and like the video. It tells YouTube this kind of practical, healthy aging content matters. And if you're enjoying being here with this community, make sure you subscribe to Wellness Daily so you don't miss future videos designed to help you stay strong, active, and informed. Now let's make this practical. How do you actually use avocado if your goal is reducing dangerous belly fat? Start simple. Pair it with protein. Pair it with fiber. Use it to replace a less helpful food. Those 3 rules alone can take you a long way. Half an avocado with eggs and berries. Sliced avocado in a salad with beans and grilled chicken. A few pieces next to salmon and vegetables. Mashed avocado instead of a creamy processed spread on a sandwich. These are not dramatic diet moves, but they are the kinds of changes people can sustain. Also, don't fall into the trap of trying to be perfect. You do not need avocado every day forever for it to help. You don't need trendy recipes. You don't need expensive supplements made from it. You don't need to fear other healthy foods just because this one gets attention. You simply need to use it wisely and consistently enough that it improves the overall pattern of how you eat. And remember, the body notices patterns. If you regularly choose meals that keep you satisfied, support stable energy, and reduce the constant insulin spiking cycle, your body starts responding differently. That doesn't mean overnight weight loss. It means less fighting against your own appetite, better control around snacks, more stable afternoons, fewer energy crashes. Those changes often come first, and the waistline changes follow. So if you've been looking for one food that truly earns the hype when it comes to dangerous belly fat, avocado may be one of the strongest contenders. Not because it's magical, not because it's trendy, but because it lines up so well with what the aging body actually needs: fiber, healthy fat, satiety, blood sugar support, and a practical way to build better meals. One more thing that makes avocado especially helpful is that it can calm the all-or-nothing mindset that ruins progress for so many people. A lot of adults try to lose belly fat by cutting everything down to almost nothing. Breakfast becomes black coffee, lunch becomes a plain salad that leaves them hungry. By late afternoon, the body pushes back hard, and suddenly they're eating whatever is easiest to grab. That cycle feels like a discipline problem, but often it's a meal design problem. When meals don't satisfy, the body keeps asking for more. Avocado can help soften that pattern by making healthy meals feel complete instead of restrictive. It's also useful for people who think healthy eating has to be complicated. You don't need a special recipe. You don't need hours in the kitchen. Cut one open, add a little lemon, pair it with real food, and you're done. That kind of simplicity matters because the easiest habit to maintain is usually the one with the fewest steps. Now, if you buy avocados and they seem to go from rock hard to overripe overnight, you're not alone. A simple trick is to let them ripen on the counter, then move them to the refrigerator once they're ready. That gives you a larger window to use them without waste. And if fresh avocados aren't perfect where you live every week of the year, frozen avocado pieces or small pre-portioned packs can still be practical options. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is giving yourself a realistic, healthy choice you can return to again and again. There are a few mistakes worth avoiding, though. The first is pairing avocado with a meal that's already overloaded with refined carbs and added fats, then expecting the avocado to cancel everything out. The second is turning it into a vehicle for endless chips and mindless snacking. And the third is assuming that because something is natural, portions don't matter. Keep it balanced, and avocado becomes an ally. Use it carelessly, and it loses much of its advantage. What I like most is that avocado supports progress without making you feel punished. That matters after 60. At this stage, the goal is not a crash diet, it's building meals you enjoy enough to repeat, because repeated habits are what change bodies and futures. And if you still think the answer has to be some rare superfood or expensive powder, remember this. The foods that help most are usually the ones that improve daily habits. Avocado does that because it makes ordinary meals more satisfying, more balanced, and easier to stick with. That's a huge advantage in a world full of quick fixes that promise everything and deliver almost nothing. When a food helps reduce cravings, supports better choices, and fits naturally into breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it stops being a trend and starts becoming a tool. And when that tool is simple enough to use again and again, that's when real change begins to happen. That's where momentum starts to build. Here's a simple challenge before we wrap up. Over the next 7 days, add avocado to 3 meals in a thoughtful way. Not on top of junk food, not as an excuse to overeat. Use it as part of a balanced meal that includes protein and fiber. Then notice what happens. Are you fuller longer, snacking less, feeling more even energy? Those small signals can tell you a lot. And if there's one message I hope stays with you today, it's this. Losing dangerous belly fat after 60 is rarely about eating less and suffering more. More often, it's about choosing foods that help your body work better. Foods that reduce the urge to overeat, support steadier blood sugar, calm unnecessary inflammation, and make healthier habits easier to maintain. Avocado happens to be one of those foods. So, if you've been overlooking it or avoiding it because of old fears about fat, this may be your sign to give it another look. Your future health isn't built by one extreme decision. It's built by small, repeatable choices that your body quietly rewards over time. If you decide to try it, come back and tell me how you're using avocado in your meals, along with your age and where you're watching from. I read as many comments as I can, and seeing people share what's working is one of the best parts of this community. Take good care of yourself, stay active, stay hopeful, and remember, healthy aging was never about perfection. It's about making one better choice today, then another tomorrow, and letting those choices add up. I'll see you in the next video.